My name is Marshell Slayton, and I have a background in paper science and biofuel engineering, which is similar to chemical engineering. And I worked for 5 years as a process engineer in paper mills. I got into lean efficiency, felt very capped by my role. The industry I was working in, which is dying, as you might know. So I decided to go back to school to get my MBA at Foster and take advantage of the Northwest and find a company based in the Northwest that I could be at longer term. I interned at Amazon last summer as a senior program manager in operations, the corporate operations, and I will be going to McKinsey & Company in the fall. So a very big shift from where I was at. I entered Foster really not knowing what consulting was. My little sister's a consultant, but she doesn't like to talk about work outside of work. So I kind of entered, and because I'm risk adverse, I knew that consulting was the first set of interviews to come, and that if you prep for consulting, you'll be set up for the rest of the interviews. So I decided to take my hand at trying for consulting, and it was a big undertaking. I didn't know what case prep was. I luckily had a very good base in behavioral interviewing, but case interviewing was really fun, but I think definitely had some challenges. So I leveraged crew management for behavioral interviews, and our second years in the Consulting Society for case prep, cover letter review, resume review, the whole gamut, to kind of get better. But it ended up being probably around 5 hours a week with that plus coffee chats in the fall quarter, which was a lot. But I think that where I struggled was I have a background in engineering, so problem solving was very fun, but I didn't really have the base business knowledge to perform as well as I'd hoped. So I'd make it far in the interviews, but then my vocabulary, for example, just wasn't quite good enough for internship recruiting. So I ended up not getting a consulting offer for internships. I did not sleep much fall quarter, which my classmates will attest to. I'm from Seattle, so I have a really strong friendship network here, which made it hard to balance school and my new friends and my old friends and my husband and everything else. So basically, I lived by my Google Calendar. I would schedule everything out, so I tried to do so many coffee chats a week, and I just kind of set goals for what I would do. And then I really worked on adding in interview prep either before class or at lunch, and leveraging the second years as well as my fellow students, because I'm a morning person, so I'm really fresh in the morning, and if you wait till the end of the day, you'll be distracted by other things normally. So I would just plan ahead, and every Sunday I kind of set up myself for success by scheduling events and interviews and coffee chats, and just sticking with that and literally living by my calendar. I have a lot of energy, luckily, so I think I did a really good job leveraging my kind of ability to network and meet people. I went to all the info sessions, and I actually did a lot of, as soon as I figured out that consulting might be interesting, like in September, I started reaching out to people in my network and trying to learn more about it and start in a safe place and ask the stupid questions to people that knew me and already liked me. And then kind of as I learned more, built up and met with people that are higher levels or more experienced in their career. But coming back to the lack of business awareness, I really didn't have much business knowledge. I had engineering knowledge and I had process knowledge, but I didn't know terminology, I didn't know economics. So you come into internship recruiting and you have 1 quarter of business school, and that was just not enough for me to be prepared. And so when it came down to it, the feedback I got was basically like, we really liked you, you had great stories, but your acumen wasn't quite there. And so I took that information and I tried to improve myself for the remainder of the time until full-time recruiting. But I think I did do a good job prioritizing and scheduling, and I made sure that I made, where I probably should have slept more. I did do a good job getting in reps. So it's a hard balance to keep.
Sure.
I was lucky and exited Amazon with a return offer, which was great. And I really think it gave me the confidence that I needed when I was interviewing. So I basically had a week after I think it was the last week of my Amazon internship, some of the applications were due. And so I put in my application for McKinsey, for PwC, promptly got rejected from PwC. They don't like me. I'm just kidding. But then ended up getting a return interview from McKinsey. Well, the crazy part is that, like I said, I was married, but I was legally married, so I had my big ceremony. So right before that, I submitted my application and then totally forgot about the whole interview process. And I got a notification 10 days before my first round interview with McKinsey and was like, what do I do now? So luckily there was some classmates of mine that also got that, and we kind of banded together to brush off whatever remained of our case prepping skills from the fall. But I think what really was different was the speed. Like before we had 4 months to prep. This time there was 10 days, like I said. I mean, I could have probably prepped more, but I wasn't prioritizing it. And then just the kind of finality of it. This was the last chance in this case. It's very hard to enter consulting not from school. So this was it's kind of make or break. And I ended up being really, really lucky. I actually thought I failed one of my interviews. I actually know I failed it. They told me I didn't do very good on one of my interviews, but luckily the other two were good enough, and I got an offer, and I was just in shock. So I wasn't initially as excited about the amount of travel. I'm still pretty not looking forward to being gone 4 days a week, but I am excited for the opportunity, and I'm excited to learn and grow. But it's going to be a big life shift. I think it's important to start early. There are always people that get an offer get an interview offer, not an offer, that aren't ready, and that they've kind of thrown their name in the hat just to be like, well, maybe I'll get a call. But then when they do get the interview invite, they aren't prepared. So I think the trick is, even if you don't think you want to do consulting, it's a great place to start. And all the other interviews are very similar to case. All the companies are moving towards case. So start early, schedule it in a couple times a week, and kind of just stick with it. Because if you don't keep up with your prep, it's like a muscle that gets weak pretty quickly.